with full coverage of the Auburn Tigers,
Touchdown, Auburn!
the Alabama Crimson Tide,
Off to the inside, intercepted Alabama. Touchdown!
and everything college and high school sports. Now, let's join Andy, Brett, Randy, and Luke for this edition of Sports Blitz Live.
Good Saturday morning out there to you, and welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Brett and Randy here with you for a couple of hours here on this Saturday. Randy, we're 2 weeks out from, in 2 weeks on this program, we'll be talking about the results of a high school football game and a bunch of high school football games around the state, and looking forward to it. And that's what we're going to start with this morning. We're going to go through a lot in high school. Most of the top 10 is out now for all classifications. We'll go through that. We'll talk about some projections and some things going on. We've got a ton on the college side. I know Auburn scrimmages today. All eyes on that. It was moved indoors, and I think it's moved back outdoors again, so they just kind of flip-flopped it. But I think the biggest thing is who might emerge as the starting quarterback at Auburn out of this, or who would look like they're the best fit to be the starter coming out of the scrimmage. Probably won't have a determination, but you'll have a better idea maybe after seeing the first scrimmage. A big-time recruit on the table for Auburn basketball that looks like it's trending maybe to Auburn late yesterday. Of course, you never know, but about 8 o'clock tonight we'll know who Flory Badunga pledges his commitment to. Will it be Auburn, Kansas, Duke, or Michigan? That's his Final Four. To even be in the mention with those programs and to be getting crystal ball predictions that it's all, I mean, again, it still feels like you're in some type of weird universe. But man, that's where Auburn is. That's where Bruce Pearl has it, and it's just a fun time. On the flip side, Alabama is doing the same thing in football and basketball. Alabama's trying to figure out who their starting quarterback is, and Ty Simpson in some camps, Jalen Milroe in other camps. And then Buckner comes in from Notre Dame. Will he be the wild card? Will he grab the starting job? But, Alabama doesn't have this issue many years. Auburn, it seems like we go through it every year, but Alabama's got a true quarterback battle going on.
Well, the three that you look at Alabama and the three for Auburn, there's a lot of similarities to go along with each one of them, with Robbie Ashford and Jalen Milroe, and the ability to run the football, the explosive athleticism that you can see from both of those guys. Ashford maybe a little faster. Milroe maybe the tailback-looking bull.
Guy,
I mean, he is a big, strong, 600-plus pound squat guy, a lot like Jalen Hurts. Can he learn to throw the football the same as Jalen Hurts has since he headed over to Oklahoma and then off to the NFL, where he's one of the top players in pro football right now. But the other two quarterbacks, a lot like what Auburn. Ty Simpson, who knows about Ty Simpson? Same with us. So, when you look at Holden Garriner, who knows about Holden Garriner? I can buy into what I'm sold with his accuracy, his 4-star plus expectation coming out of high school. And then you've got two guys, maybe the one for Auburn, and Peyton Thorne, a little bit more groomed than what you see coming out of Notre Dame, but both of those guys have played a lot of football. So a lot of similarities, isn't there, between the three quarterbacks?
Lots. I mean, it really kind of lines up, like you said, to have three guys that are very similar in their skill sets, and then you got Hugh Freeze and Nick Saban trying to figure out which one they feel like it's going to be the best fit. So they'll determine that. I know that Coach Freeze said after these first 5 practices, you have the scrimmage, want to start narrowing it down. Want to at least come out of here with, okay, I know who number 1 and 2 is. So here's the deal for Auburn, and we'll dive into this more in the second hour. But what does that hold for Robbie Ashford? If Robbie Ashford comes out of this scrimmage and it looks like he's the number 3 guy, will there be a conversation at that point, maybe in the next week or so, with him to see about maybe moving positions? Because we had that comment on the Auburn Blitz yesterday. Several people said would love to see Robbie Ashford on the field in some capacity because he's too good of an athlete not to. And it's like I said, Well, there's an ego thing when it comes to quarterbacks. And when you've grown up a quarterback and you've played quarterback your whole life, it's just not real easy to say, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to move over to this position. Some do. Some can handle that and kind of flip the scripts. Others, they go, no, I want to play quarterback. That's what I feel like I was groomed to do, and maybe they get in the transfer portal and move on somewhere else. But Robbie Ashford, I think that's going to be the telltale sign is where does he land coming out of this scrimmage?
Well, I think the biggest question mark is, do you expect him to do that within a couple of weeks in transition, or are we talking about maybe sitting a year and then coming back next year where he's a wide receiver or running back type,
Right.
a slot receiver type of guy like Cody Burns ends up being, like Hines Ward goes off to the NFL and was exceptionally good wherever you threw him. And so there's been players that have had the ability to do it. I just don't know that a high school quarterback at Hoover that was one of the best quarterbacks and one of the top recruits in the state his senior year that played quarterback the whole time there.
Right.
Transitions, goes on, comes over to Auburn. I don't know that he's ever played a different position over the last, 6, 7 years of his life. I don't know anything about what he did youth coming up. I'm sure being the athlete and arm strength and the baseball player that he is, that everybody that ever coached him goes, we got to make a quarterback out of that skill set. So it's easier said than done. No matter how good of an athlete you are, it's easier said than done to be competitive in a league like the SEC where these guys at the receiving, it's not like they just walk out there and it's a real simple footwork deal. And I mean, I've watched, I had the good fortune of watching Terrell Owens when he was going through his stretch in the NFL and coming out to where he'd go up on the hill at Benjamin Russell and he would work out. And Brett, I'm sure you've been there too when he's done this. And, man, it was multiple hours of things that looked like monotonous work to me. But they were all footwork and they were all setups. And it was something that I had never really seen someone take as much time to do. And so I say all of that meaning I don't expect him to transition over and within a couple of weeks be out there at slot receiver making plays.
Yeah, I think just because you're a great athlete, you don't just jump into a position that guys have been working years. You're behind. Obviously their work ethic and their skill set because you've been working at another skill set. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, it doesn't really work out a lot of times. Most of the time, if you've been in that position, that's where you want to be. That's where your heart is. Tim Tebow tried it in the NFL. Everybody said, look, you go to the NFL, you're probably not going to be a quarterback, but if you go to the NFL and you change positions, you become a tight end, you become a fullback, you'll probably have a long career. He tried it, didn't like it. He couldn't do it, man. He's like, I'm a quarterback, and everybody criticizes me about my arm angle and this, that, and other and all that. And if I'm not good enough to play, I'll just step aside. And that's what he did. Ended up trying to go to the baseball route and tried with the Mets for a little while. That didn't work out either. Now he's out, but he's made a really good career for himself and is out speaking and everything. But it's that Tim Tebow won a Heisman Trophy. Charlie Ward won a Heisman Trophy. And Charlie Ward ended up playing in the NBA. I mean, it didn't work out for him. I mean, those guys were really good college quarterbacks at Florida and Florida State, and they ended up not really having a pro football career. So I don't know what will happen with Robbie Ashford. I think a lot of things coming out of today's scrimmage will tell you because he's been down there longer than anybody other than Gurner, obviously. But Robbie was the quarterback last year. He's got a little bit of a leg up on everybody. And if he comes out of this thing third, if I'm in his shoes, I'm going, man, I got some decisions to make.
Well, the good thing for him, though, let's spin it like he does win this job. I mean, Hugh Freeze is taking quarterbacks that have the skill set of Robbie Ashford and made them better and really put big numbers out there, not only throwing the football down the field but also running the football. So he has that where he doesn't have a coach that has never coached someone with his skill set.
Right.
So, if you come into a pro-style system where the coach has always had somebody stay in the pocket and throw the football around for 3,500 yards a year, and you're the guy that's out there needing to rush for 800 to 1,000 yards a year to be your more productive self, then you don't have anything to really expect. And I look at Robbie Ashford and I see a Hugh Freeze, and I think he'll also be able to see in non-contact drills, would he have made a play there?
Right.
Many times that was what I complained so much about with Malik Willis back in the day. You never had an opportunity to really see what he could do at Auburn because any spring game setups or those type of games, he was in non-contact jersey, and they'd blow the whistle when his dynamic play was just about to start. I mean, watch Malik Cunningham right now for the Patriots.
Right.
You see the touchdown run that he had. Parks Crossing, you and I covered him for many, many years over there, and that's what he did. But if you're in a non-contact, that play's not made. You don't see that explosiveness.
Right.
You don't see that cutting ability once you get to the second level. So Robbie Ashford's got all of that, Brett. We know that. If he can clean up his passing, man, he is – I would love to see him be the starter.
Well, we talked about it on the show this week. And basically there's other elements, not just the quarterback. You know, when you're trying to – the thing, like you said, he's got to get better with his passing efficiency. And Hugh Freeze said that. We crunched the numbers. He said, you've got to be here in this league. You got to be at 60-something% to give yourself a chance to win in this league. He said just the numbers show that. Well, all that's not on the quarterback. If a quarterback's completing 54% of his passes or 58% of his passes or whatever the number is, it's not just him inaccurate. It's what are your receivers doing? Are they getting open? Are they dropping balls? Does your offensive line block long enough for things to develop for you to throw the football? Are you having to throw on the run more? Are you throwing more longer passes? Or are you missing on intermediate things? There are other elements that affect a quarterback's passing percentage. And so better offensive line play equals better protection, maybe more time, maybe better receivers. All of a sudden you see a 5 or 6% increase in your passing efficiency. So we'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. We've got some people down there today at the scrimmage. I'm looking forward to hearing from them. We'll have a report hopefully on Monday on Auburn Blitz. Kind of giving everybody a rundown of what they saw, and there's a lot of moving pieces, so we're excited about it. It'll be first scrimmage for Hugh Freeze as we head into the fall season. So, but we're up against our first break. When we come back, Randy, we're going to dive into some high school football because it's time. You know, who's predicted to do what? It's a big year for a lot of teams. The team we cover on a daily basis. Going to be a big year for them. They have high expectations. We're going to talk about that as well. We're just getting started. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Sportz Auto Sales, Highway 280 in Kellyton, Alabama, is home-owned and home-operated. If you're looking for tires, they have it. If you're looking for a vehicle, they have them. Great selection. Always out looking for more just for you, the customer. And if you're looking for service, whether you buy the vehicle from them or whether you buy the vehicle somewhere else, they do service work and got a great crew there. Keep this in mind. Don't you go by Sportz Auto Sales on Highway 280 in Kellyton today.
What's the verdict?
Can't fix your heat pump. Need a new one.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Daikin.
Call on Kevin Kill in Sunshine Heating and Air at 256-825-4849, Central Alabama's premier Daikin dealer.
So what's he thinking?
Oh, he's thinking Daikin.
Daikin, one of the top selling in the world.
Now I'm thinking Daikin.
Daikin. Comfort for life.
Russell Do-It Center and building supply stores have the tools and materials to get the job done right, whether you're a professional contractor or just a weekend do-it-yourselfer. With everyday customer conveniences like a drive-through lumberyard, price match promise, and our Best Rewards program, each of our 9 locations offer top brands and building materials like lumber, hardware, tools, paint, lawn and garden, and much more. Visit today and see what Russell Do-It Center and Building Supply can help you build tomorrow.
Sign Source is your local vendor for commercial and residential sign manufacturing and installation. We offer all kinds of lighted and non-lighted signage, from retail signs, LED message centers, event banners, vehicle wraps, the whole spectrum. We also offer service and repair on existing signs, as well as retrofitting to LED or installation of outsourced signage. We have the knowledge necessary to fulfill all of your signage needs in the short or long term. Visit signsourcenow.com to get started.
Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of strength and trust in the entire Lake Martin community. With our modern branch in Dadeville and caring, attentive staff, we've established Farmers and Merchants Bank as a reliable friend to your banking needs. Whether it's just a savings or checking account or any commercial, auto, or real estate loan, Farmers has local decision-making to build a relationship with you and your needs. Farmers and Merchants Community Bank. Strength, service, community.
Hello, I'm Karen Karen Chanel, your State Farm agent in Alexander City, Alabama, and the greater Lake Martin area. I want to talk to you a little bit today about your discounts. How many of you are entitled to discounts that you may or may not be receiving? One of the easiest discounts on your homeowner's insurance is that of having a fire extinguisher. Coupled with a deadbolt lock and a smoke alarm, that gives you an automatic discount on your homeowner's policy.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. You see the logo on the screen if you're watching on Facebook or on TV. Sunshine Heating and Air, Kevin Kill, our good friend, does such a great job. And, man, boy, you talking about busy right now. Whew, it is hot, and if your air goes out right now, you calling and you want it fixed fast. So Sunshine Heating and Air for a new heating and air unit. If you're looking for the best, give them a call, 825-4849. They'll hook you up there. Randy, we are into high school, and again, does it take long for our programs to go by this time of year because of all the stuff that goes on? And then mostly when the season starts, we're recapping and previewing. That's what we're doing. And we're obviously taking your phone calls and your comments on Facebook. But the guys at the Alabama Football Historical Society, we talk about them all the time, AHSFHS.org. If you haven't gone out there to look, that is one of my favorite, if not my favorite website on the internet. You just go in there and get lost in all this information, and every time I go there, I find something new that I want to read about. And so we've had them on our show before. They don't look for accolades. They don't look for pats on the back. They do it because they love it, and man, we're thankful that they do. And they put out something different this year. They did a projections based on all their research, where they think everybody's going to finish, who's going to win which region, and then what the final top 10 would look like. And the AHSAA poll, the Sports Writers Association poll, came out this week. So we're going to do a cross section of both of them. We're going to go down the Sports Writers poll, and then I'll show you what the projections are according to the Football Historical Society, to see if they match up. So we're going to start with 7A, and obviously we know who's king right now in 7A. Is there any difference?
Yeah, no, number one in both of these polls will be Thompson as they look to repeat again as 7A state champions. Number 2 is Auburn, 3 Hoover, Central Phoenix City comes in at 4, Hewitt-Trussville 5, Vestavia 6, Enterprise 7, Dothan 8. I want to stop right there. The first 8 teams, right, all in 2 regions.
Unbelievable.
You also got the 10th ranked team in the same region in Prattville. The only one outside of those 2 regions is Mary Montgomery that comes in at number 9 in the preseason poll. So wow, it's a juggernaut. It's an amazing accomplishment to make it into the playoffs. Right. If you're going through these 2 regions. And Class 7A is top heavy, but it's top heavy because these teams have really gotten so good and so competitive with one another that they must be, Brett.
Right.
You know, you watch an Opelika program that you and I have watched and enjoyed for the entirety of our life. I think back to the 80s with me and you sitting in the stands watching Benjamin Russell play against Opelika in very tight games. It felt like every single year, and they love their high school football as much as we do here right in Alexander City. And to see them go 5-5 and beat a Phoenix City team that could have easily won the state championship last year. It tells you how hard that is, Brett.
It does. You know, the tough get tougher over there in East Alabama, and of course that Birmingham region, as you mentioned. There is some difference here. The 7A projections from the Football Historical Society versus what the ASWA said. Of course, they got Thompson 1, but they got Phoenix City finishing 2nd. Hewitt Trustful finishing third. So they've got them all the way up to 3. Auburn 4, Hoover 5. They've got Austin at 6. So they feel like Austin from North Alabama going to have a good year. Vestavia Hills comes in at 7. You're high on Vestavia, especially after the way they finished last year. They finished 7-5, but they were playing, and we covered it, as good a football as anybody. And we felt like, man, if they somehow could have gotten past Thompson, they could have won that thing, and they were trending high. Can they carry that momentum into this year? Mary Montgomery, the lone team outside of those 2 regions you talked about in the AHSAA poll, comes in at number 8 over here, and then Dothan is number 9, which was a little surprising to me. But, you know, it's Dothan's an odd area. You know, they're a big school, but you don't see very much come from that region of the state as far as state champions. And then they've got Florence at number 10. So they've got 2 teams from up north, Austin and Florence, cracking the top 10 for them.
Well, Dothan 8-4 last year, and you know, when you merge as many schools together as they did,
right,
and you throw the athletes in there, there's a little bit of an ebb and flow. Smitty Grider was over there, had a really good year, and then he didn't quite have the run of athletes in the following year, and we got lucky and ended up with him over here at Benjamin Russell. But, you know, that's a part of the state that's like that. And so it'll be interesting to see, though, because I think they're throwing money at that thing. I think they're trying to get facilities and do things right over in Dothan. So I am very high on Vestavia. They've got a returning quarterback that's one of the top baseball players in the state. They've got an edge rusher that I think is the best edge rusher in the state.
He is.
He's 6'4", 225, 230 pounds. They had Thompson on the ropes last year, just couldn't close it off to move on for a potential shot at a state championship. They've got a coach over there that's, you know, a graduate, kind of a high school football legend from his area. They won a state championship when he was in high school during that late 90s stretch. When we were kind of matching up with him, it felt like year in and year out late in the playoffs here at Benjamin Russell. So Vestavia is the one that I'd watch. I think that there's going to be a time where they get this thing going, and it's amazing. Hey, it's amazing turnaround. They were they 0-10? 2 or 3 years ago?
I don't know. I can't remember if they were that.
I'll pull it up during the break and see. They were bad. Whatever it was, they were bad.
They
were getting beat by 40 points.
Right. And they had fallen way down. And, you know, we've seen that story several times. We saw it with Davil. We've seen it with Thompson.
Yeah.
Teams that kind of rise back up, and, you know, they seem to be a team that's trending very highly. According to the Football Historical Society, this is the region finish. Those 2 top regions, Region 2, they've got Phoenix City winning that region, Auburn finishing 2nd, Dothan 3rd, and Opelika 4th. So no Enterprise making it to the playoffs.
Prattville.
And no Prattville either. So Region 3, Thompson 1, Hewitt Trustful, the runner-up there, Hoover 3rd, and Vestavia 4. So, man, you talk about just rough. And then just to show a little bit of a favor toward Region 1 in Mobile, Mary, Montgomery, Foley, Baker, and Fairhope. And then the North Region, Austin, Florence, Huntsville, and Sparkman. But you just, man, it is so hard to navigate 7A football when you're not in Region 2 and Region 3.
Well, the northern half of the state, I don't know the last team. They came out of that area of the state in the top classification that was really in it. You know, like you went into the preseason and late into the season, you looked over there and you said, I think a team from Huntsville may have a chance to win.
What happened What happened to Bob Jones?
Bob Jones has really fallen off. James Clemens has really not found their treading as well. You know, they've had some stretches where they've had defensive linemen and stuff that we all wanted.
But not consistent.
No.
I mean, but it's weird to look down. And Bob Jones at one point in time was the biggest school, one of the biggest schools in the state, and still are. And you just look down, and they're just not being mentioned anymore. And it's like they just have kind of gone away. But anyway, up against the break, that was 7A. We're going to go through some other classifications here in the first hour, kind of give you the rundown of where they go as far as heading into the season as far as these polls. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
L&G Ad Agency is the go-to vendor for all your digital and print marketing needs. We have in-house production for all projects, including graphic design, web design, social media marketing, videography, and print marketing. Our video production is up to industry standard with modern 4K cameras and drone capabilities. We pride ourselves in client-committed relationships, and every project is personalized to your needs. Visit lmgadagency.com for a free quote today. Let us tell your story.
Satterfield Outdoor Living is Lake Martin's trusted friend for your outdoor land and leisure needs. We're the region's authorized Skag mower dealer for residential and commercial lawns and offer all the small engine accessories you need with top lines of Steel, Echo, Shindawa, Husqvarna, and Metabo products that can tame any landscape. Satterfield is also your grill headquarters with Big Green Egg Grill, and our pros service everything in-house and back up all sales. Get the Satterfield Outdoor difference on Highway 280 right across from Tallapoosa Ford.
You want the best opportunity to be successful in life. You deserve that opportunity. Well, you just happens to be in our motto. Central to you, central to your success. Your future is right now. Don't wait. Make your dreams a reality by enrolling at Central Alabama Community College. Register today at cacc.edu.
Looking for an attorney you can trust for your real estate closings? Wisdom Law Firm at Lake Martin has you covered. Your real estate transactions are fast, convenient, and professional every step of the way. Wisdom Law is certified and licensed by the American Land and Title Association and approved by all local lenders. Visit Wisdom Law Firm at 6366 Highway 49 in Dadeville or at their Auburn location at 2353 Bent Creek Road. No communication concerning a lawyer's legal services shall be published or broadcast unless it contains the following language, which shall be clearly legible or audible as the case may be. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center provides optimum care for the whole person. Dr. Dimo Popov specializes in the prevention and diagnosis of high blood pressure, kidney disease, diabetes, and acute and chronic conditions. Our weight loss clinic offers lipo shots and a guide to healthy weight loss. Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center, where lifestyle changes are made.
Lee Apparel is your go-to vendor for screen-printed and embroidered apparel and promotional products. We print and embroider free custom-made graphics or outsourced designs on everything from t-shirts, headwear, corporate wear, team sportswear, high-end safety apparel, and promotional products. At Lee Apparel, you can always expect quick turnaround time, competitive pricing, friendly customer service, and free in-hands delivery on all orders. Visit us at leeapparel.com to get started.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. JR Sports Bar and Grill 25th anniversary coming up in October. We'll have more information as we get closer to the date. But Randy, we're excited about that, and we've got a cool video coming out about the history of JR's and everything that they've been involved with since they've been in this community. And it's a place where when you leave here, you come back, you got to go to JR's, and visitors come here, and people say, where do you want to go eat? And everybody goes, well, you need to go try JR's if you haven't been to JR. So it's a staple in this community, and we're proud to be associated with them for a long, long time here on this program.
We host a Lake Martin Sports Roundup show that we do each week. Most of the time we shoot that on Wednesday and show it in the following week. So always highlights local area athletes, local area sports teams, youth teams here in our Lake Martin region. So if you've got stories that you'd like for us to cover and teams that you would like for us to bring up there to JR's, please pass that along to us.
You know, we'll dive back into the polls here in just a minute, but there's always a lot of coaching changes every year, and there is a boatload this year. There's been a lot of movement in high school football. And, you know, you and I look at it, sometimes it's odd to see programs that did extremely well the year before. We've seen it happen in McGill-Toolen, and McGill-Toolen's been through a lot of coaches, and they've actually you know, been a contender more times than not. And, hey, that's another team that we don't see listed up there. But you look down, and some of these names. Rush Probst is back in the state. He's at Pell City. Takes over for Steve Mask. Where does Steve Mask go? He goes back to Mobile, takes over Theodore, who was one of the more dominant programs in 6A last year, Randy.
Yeah, they had an amazing defense. It was shocking to even see them lose 13-1 season, lose to Saraland in the semis. And I was saying that to you during the break. This 6A classification, it is a juggernaut. The top 15 teams in this classification, just in competition with one another, you could lose any of those games any week, Brett.
No doubt, no doubt. You look over Pike Road, who's had tremendous run here the last 2 or 3 years. Ed Rigby goes to Eufaula. Granger Shook takes over for him. You look down at, let's see, there was Sylacauga. Rob Carter leaves, and Chris Smelly comes over to take that job. Stanhope Elmore, a good friend of ours, and Hunter Adams is the new head coach at Stanhope Elmore. He's got a lot of deep roots in Elmore County, so it'll be interesting to see how he's able to do with them in his first year. But I think the headliner is Rush Probst right now, coming back into the state of Alabama, being a guy that's, let's be honest, he's polarizing. He grabs headlines. He's already grabbed a headline here in the state during a 7-on-7, a verbal shout match between him and maybe some of the Oxford coaches and players after that 7-on-7 up at Hoover. Didn't take him long to get back in the news. That's what you expect when you get Rush Probst at your school. But, Randy, everybody up there, I mean, you think about the coaches that have been at Pell City, and this is not a shot at Pell City, but you think about who they've had. They've had Keith Etheridge. They had Steve Mask. Both of those have won multiple state championships. And they just couldn't get it done. They struggled to have a winning record. Steve Mask goes back down to Theodore. It would not shock me if Theodore's right there where they've been this past year or so with him back at the helm. But Rush Probst will take a shot at it. Rush Probst has won everywhere he's ever been. I mean, if you look at, his early career, obviously very popular at Hoover, then he leaves the state and goes to Valdosta, has Valdosta in the hunt every single year. Now he comes back, got hired as the associate head coach at Coosa Christian. And then the Pell City job opened up, and he hopped into that one. So that's going to be an interesting story to follow.
Yeah, he's in a community. They were in our area the entire time you and I were in high school, so I know them well. I know the type of athlete that you can get out of there. But when it comes to football, they just have never really won much at all. And they do get Bows and Joes. They do get guys that can run and jump. They always have a pretty good basketball program when we were coming through, and really work at their baseball. But, Brett, when you're in a community that just hasn't won that often, can you flip the script? And if anybody can, it's Rush Probst. But he's got to, he's in a weird part of the state, too. There's other parts of the state, like Thompson over in Alabaster, where you've got a whole bunch of athletes within a 15-mile radius. And if those families want to find their way to Alabaster, to put their kids in your program and on your team, it's a pretty much an easy move. I mean, how many really strong areas are, I know Anniston, Talladega, and some of those areas, but you've got some other programs like Moody and some others that are really on the upswing as well. So and Oxford's always been one of those programs that have had the ability to go out there in Anniston and other areas and get those kids in.
Do you have confidence to pull it off up there?
Not really. I'd be shocked if he did. It's just, I think it's more of my personal knowledge of Pell City. I just know way too much about what type, and I don't want to stereotype. I've just got a mental vision of what type of kid he's walking into, and it's not bad, but it's not top 6A good, and at least it never has been.
Well, and you've got a cross section to compare it to with Steve Mask and Keith Etheridge. I mean, it's not like they're chopped liver. I mean, those guys are two of the better coaches in the state.
And two different types of coaches. I mean, Steve Mask has always had the ability to they did throw the football at St. Paul's, but they pounded you with unbelievable offensive line and great running backs, and like McPherson and some of those others. And then you got Keith Etheridge, and I told you what, I had my son ran track over in Opelika this summer, so I was around a lot of Opelika guys. And the ones that they were talking about was, man, Coach Etheridge has got a playbook on him, don't he? And I said, He's been in a lot of places, but the point was well taken. It's like this guy is dynamic when it comes to offensive football, and you've seen it everywhere that he's been. So 2 different coaches is my point. I mean, sometimes a certain system works in a certain community, like Reeltown.
Right.
Ground and pound you. They've always had the ability to do that with 3 or 4-headed monster back there in the backfield. I mean, has Reeltown ever wowed you with their throwing ability down the field?
No.
Haven't had to.
Even with L.A. O'Neal back there at quarterback.
Haven't had to. They've always been able to run the football. So there's certain communities that certain brands of football work. And so my point is Pell City's tried both ways.
They have, and
so far it hasn't worked.
All right, here's one. And I don't know that I was aware of this. Maybe it was just something that slipped through. Lynette, Clifford Story, not the head coach there now. So.
Yeah, and moving on, had a tremendous run, multiple state championships, produced, sons that have gone on to play in the SEC and elsewhere. And so it'll be tough to replace. But Lynette gets the Bows and the Joes for the classification that they're in. So I know Clifford Story loves that community well enough that he had a hand in making sure that whoever his replacement's going to be a solid get. And I don't expect much of a fall off in Lynette.
McGill Tulin, another coach this year. How many is that now in the last 10 years?
We'd have to pull it up. I'd say longest tenure, maybe 3 or 4 years at the most.
I mean, it was the weird stat I think I remember that AHSFHS put out on them. They had a winning record, but had more coaches that they'd gone through. Everybody else on the list had a pretty big losing record over that stint. They'd had a winning record. They just, I don't know, what's the deal? There's an issue down there that they keep going through coaches year in and year out.
It's odd, they're in a...
I want to pull that up and see how many they've been through, because they are a good program.
An area of the state where the ones that you're recruiting against are really good too. So you take the UMS Wrights of the world, and this is a recruiting battle.
St. Paul's.
I mean, when you're dealing with a private school system in the city of Mobile, you are out there needing to get, every one of those schools need 5 or 6 difference makers. And then they build a program around the rest of the team. But you've got to go out there and get 5 or 6 difference makers, and you got to do it when they're young. And I don't know how many coaches embrace that the way that Terry Curtis and others do. Do you agree? I mean, Steve Mask was exceptionally good at St. Paul's doing it.
I was shocked Steve Mask left St. Paul's. He kind of had he hasn't been there as long as Terry Curtis has been at UMS, but, he was synonymous with St. Paul's football. He left and tried something different. He's worked his way back to the Mobile area. Everybody kind of feels like Mark Freeman will end up back in Mobile eventually. His name keeps popping up for certain things. Jamie Dubose is at Orange Beach right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect them to rise up. Everywhere Jamie Dubose has ever been, they've been successful. So
another area of the state that's easy to recruit to. I'm not saying that that's –
Well, Gulf Shores just got a running back from Oxford.
Yep.
Talk about easy to recruit. That's not like he went from Oxford to Anniston. He went from Oxford down to the coast. So, we know recruiting's an issue. It's being talked about at these media days. It's the elephant in the room. I don't know how to address it. I don't know that the AHSAA knows how to address it. They don't have enough staff to police all these moves. Now, it's like Mark Freeman said.
A valid move's a valid move.
Well, it's like Mark Freeman said. Instead of pointing fingers and starting rumors, if you see something that's illegal, call somebody out. Report them. It's the only way you stop this kind of stuff. And we, not naming high schools, but since we've been doing this, we've seen some high schools get turned in and they've been punished. Because the research showed and the investigation showed that, some things weren't done and there weren't bona fide moves, and they got punished for it. So if you see something out there, but there is a lot of chatter out there on how kids get somewhere and all that. But it's like you said, at the end of the day, the bottom line is if it's a legal move, it's a legal move. It doesn't matter.
Well, I watched Johnny Football last night. Have you seen it?
Well, I sent y'all a message, remember, and I said, have y'all seen that? And
we're on some text threads that get 40 deep, and sometimes I don't make it back to number 38.
I understand.
But Johnny Football made mention of a move when he was heading into, I think, the 8th grade, where his dad wanted him in a program.
There's military.
Over there, and they worked out in the morning, and they worked out in the afternoon, and all of that was around practicing. And his father wanted him in a disciplined environment that really had a program that was very well structured and going to work out and going to do different. I think he said they were in the weight room 6 days a week. Isn't that what he said?
Right.
He said, and my point is that if it's a valid move, and you want to be in a certain program that has produced, and you know that you've got a kid that has the potential, then that's what's going to happen.
I think the crazy thing that you see now, and I know we got to get to a break, is that programs like Oxford, who have won a state championship in the last few years, have great facilities, are a program that a lot of people aspire to go to. They even lose kids to other programs.
They lose a lot of kids.
I mean, but it's just odd. I mean, nobody is immune to this now, and I don't know what offers go on. I think that's with NIL leaking into high school and deals, which is illegal right now in high school in this state. But I think everybody feels like that'll change eventually. But that's what coaches are alluding to. It's okay, bona fide move, yeah. When you come down here and you live in a house or whatever, but what all is going into the enticement of getting a kid? I mean, you heard Ronnie Cottrell, you heard Steve Mask, you heard Terry Curtis at the Mobile County, Baldwin County Media Days. All three of them talked about how their players had been solicited by other people's schools. They didn't name names, possibly boosters, possibly fans, possibly officials of other schools. And that's always been a very, very tumultuous area down there. Let's be honest. Saraland. That's
what I just said about McGill.
Yeah, Saraland last year, Randy, the Spanish Fort and Saraland were in basically Saraland was having to sit and wait to see if the HSAA would rule them ineligible, eligible to keep playing in the playoffs. Do you remember that?
Do remember that.
So,
and now Saraland dipping in along with Spanish Fort over to Mississippi.
I mean,
bringing some top players from over there. It's a different. It's always gone on. But social media has exposed it, and then a lot of the social media accounts that are really trying to play in that gray area where you're promoting your program because you know it's going on.
Yeah.
And when a kid is looking around or someone, a handler is out there talking around that you're a program that they're thinking about.
Right.
So it's
well,
different.
here's a couple more before we go to break. Bayside Academy, good friend Phil Lasby steps down.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett Trotter, the head coach, former Auburn quarterback, former Briarwood Christian quarterback.
Well, I think that, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but if I remember reading an article and hearing some interviews with Phil Lazenby, it was more in tune to Bayside wanting to do a little more of this stuff that he wasn't used to or comfortable doing, which is, promoting the program where you can go out there and recruit. And so can Barrett Trotter do that? I'm sure that he can. But Phil Lazenby, man, the product that he put together at Bayside Academy when
we had him in the state championship game. He
always won.
Has he been to a state title game at every school he's coached?
It's a great question. I don't know.
I think he has. I'd have to go back and look at it. Also, one more, Anniston last year, phenomenal year, high expectations this year. Rico White steps down. Rico Jackson comes in. What's the odds of having a Rico replace a Rico? So anyway, we're up against the break. We come back, we'll continue to go down some of the polls and get ready for college football in hour number 2. Stay tuned, more of the not Lake Martin Sports Roundup, Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Hey, honey, it's Mom. Just wanted to call and check in, see how everything's going. You'll probably say not to worry. Everything is great. But we miss you. I'll call you back later. How are you? Tell me everything.
Everything's great. I love it here. This is Joseph Dean with Alabama Funeral Homes. As many of you are aware, we had a fire that significantly damaged our facilities. We are in the process of getting those rebuilt. We apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused the families that we serve. I want you to know that we are capable of handling all of your needs at Frederick Dean Funeral Home of Opelika, which will be servicing Alabama Funeral Homes families. We can be reached at our same number, 256-896-4502, or by email at joseph@alabamafuneralhomes.com.
You've dreamed about the perfect house, a place to call your own, and a place to not only stretch out, but to grow. Auto Owners protects your house because to you, it's home. That's simple human sense. Happy to help, man. I was just over there talking to myself anyway.
Frontline Outfitters provides all your aftermarket parts for your cars, trucks, and as well as your professional tinting solutions for auto, residential, and commercial buildings. Frontline Outfitters also handles vinyl wraps, spray-in bed liners, truck accessories, LED lighting, paint correction and detailing, and much more. Make sure Frontline Outfitters of Alexander City is your first call for tinting and aftermarket solutions. Call us today, 256-409-8100.
Looking to sell your car, truck, or SUV? Look no further than King Honda. As a local family-owned business, we're committed to providing you with the best service and value. Nobody pays you more for your vehicle than King Honda.
You've trusted us for generations. You can trust King Honda to give you top dollar for your vehicle, whether you buy from us or not. Trust in our time-tested tradition of excellence at King Honda.
Visit King Honda today and get top dollar for your vehicle. Located on the corner of Opelika Highway and 280.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Eating and Air. Just went through some coaching changes there in that last segment. There's some more. Danny Powell takes over for Jackson Academy. Lance Tucker is over at Demopolis now. Randy, you will watch that program as they kind of always a team to watch over in West Alabama. And his pedigree, and he'll do a really good job there. So let's get back to the polls, and I'll let you get down to 6A. And this, pretty much unanimous across the state when you talk to anybody that covers high school football, the toughest classification top to bottom. I mean, you go into it, there's probably 20 legit teams that if they got hot and they got the right draw in the playoffs could make a run to a state championship.
Saraland starts off as number one, 21 votes, pretty much a majority of the first place votes for the Alabama Sports Writers Association as they look to defend their 6A state championship from last year. Clay Chalkville 2, Hartselle 3, Mountain Brook 4, Theodore 5, Hillcrest Tuscaloosa 6, Parker 7, Muscle Shoals 8, Spanish Fort 9, and Pelham comes in at number 10. Benjamin Russell listed as the number 13 team. Homewood also in our region as the number 11 team. And right. Gardendale that we saw in the spring game listed as 12 right before. So Homewood, Gardendale, and Benjamin Russell right outside the top 10.
Yeah, we saw Gardendale in the spring. Thought that was a good barometer. Of course, you can't tell everything in a spring game, but you kind of want to have an idea of how you match up going in. And, Gardendale had a great season last year, and they have high expectations again this year, and that was good. Some differences here from the Football Historical Society projections. They've got Saraland 1, Clay Chalkville 2, Mountain Brook 3, but they've got Benjamin Russell at number 4. So the AHSAA poll has Benjamin Russell at 13. They've got Benjamin Russell at number 4. They've got Hillcrest Tuscaloosa at 5, and then interchanging these a little bit, pretty similar, 6 through 10 to ASWA. Hartselle 6, Spanish Fort 7, Parker 8, Muscle Shoals 9, and they've got Carver Montgomery in there at number 10. But that just kind of tells you it's all over the map. I mean, would you have been surprised to see Homewood at number 8? No, you wouldn't. Would you have been surprised to see a Wetumpka listed up there? No, you wouldn't. that's how wide open 6A is. There really is maybe 25 programs here in the state that when the season starts, depending on how things go, and if you dodge the injury bug and you make a run, you can make a run at a state championship.
Well, you look down, Oxford's sitting down there as one of those teams outside of the top 10. You know what kind of athlete that Oxford has. Hueytown that we saw in the playoffs last year. Great running back returning for Hueytown. I mean, they're going to be a tough out for anybody. Pike Road, you talked about them during the break. Pike Road's, from an athlete-to-athlete standpoint, going to match up with just about everyone. Now, they no longer have that Mini Mike down back there at running back as he moved on to IMG Academy. Right. So they've lost, one of the top playmakers in the country in this year's class. But they still have some guys over there. And I've talked to some fathers of some of the coaches this summer from Pike Road, and they say, yeah, we do have the pieces. But when you lose Rogers and he moves down to IMG, that's a big loss. But it is it's wide open, Brett. It really is. In Class 6A, it's wide open. And I'm hoping that our Wildcats have, a season where when we get into the playoff run, we don't look at a matchup where we go, I wish the draw was a little bit different.
Right.
We've seen that in years past.
Region 1, Saraland, Spanish Fort, Theodore, St. Paul's, you can see any of them winning it. I mean, that's 4 legit teams. That's 4 teams that, if you put them in any other region, would possibly win that region. Region 2's got Carver, Pike Road, Wetumpka, and Sidney Lanier. I mean, you look at them. I mean, Wetumpka's been to state championships in the last several years. Pike Road's won 1. Carver Montgomery had 2 of the best players in the country on the same team last year, had a great year. Just a juggernaut there. Region 3, Benjamin Russell, Homewood, Pelham, Helena. I mean, we know what Helena's been able to do. They won the region a couple of years ago. Homewood made it to the quarterfinals, lost in overtime to Saraland, who won the state championship. Pelham's an anomaly. It seems like they're a thorn in Benjamin Russell's side in every sport. Doesn't matter what kind of season they have, they just have their number right now. And then Benjamin Russell, with all the star-studded talent that they've got coming in, really part of the reason why, and coming off an 8-3 record last year, why this poll has them ranked so high, because they've got a lot of veteran returning talent that will be Division I. Then you look at Region 6, man, look at this one. Clay Chalk, Oxford, Center Point, and Pinson Valley. I mean, Pale City's in that region, by the way.
That's the problem. Do you know how much of a swing for the better they've got to pull off in an area that's tougher to pull it off? I'm the one that sat up here and said Mark Freeman's going to get it done. I don't know. I'm not saying that over in Pell City for Rush Probst. I just think it's too tough of an area in the state, too much competition around you for kids to move in, and they need difference makers moving into that community. Unless we're just supposed to buy in that Pell City's never been coached up to the level that Rush Probst. I don't believe that. I believe they've had some great. They got
to have some players to change the dynamic. Region 5, Mountain Brook, Parker, Gardendale, and Jackson Olin. I mean, Gardendale. I mean, they win 9-10 games a year. Parker,
still Mountain Brook is.
I mean,
I don't see them having any issue winning that region.
Region 7, Hartselle, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Decatur. And then finally
that's a good region.
That is a solid region. And then Fort Payne, Gadsden City, Buckhorn, Hazel Green. That's not a very.
It's the easiest region.
By far.
Yeah.
And again, not a cut, but that's why you don't see really many of them moving deep in the playoffs. Their competition level week in and week out is not what any of these other regions have to go through. Every one of these other regions are rough. I mean, let's be honest about it. So,
the team I would watch out of that northern half of the state, and I know they're in 7A, but it's going to be Huntsville. It's going to be a little while, but I say within the next 3 to 5 years, you'll see Huntsville consistently in that mix. I think they have the right dynamic. They've got the right.
They have in basketball.
Split, and they've got it in the other sports, all the other sports. I just think they're a school that's going to be on the rise. And
really, they should. Yeah. I mean, there should be a school up there. I thought it was going to be Bob Jones that takes the mantle up there and runs with. I mean, they're the benchmark for all the schools up there. I mean, there's too many people up in that area, and the population continues to rise up there for somebody not to step up and be a dominant high school.
Agree. And they always in basketball have Bo's and Joes that you need. You know, they've got the athleticism that you can get over the hump with.
We'll catch up. Well, we've got a few minutes before the top of the hour, so we're just going to keep it here. We'll catch up in the second hour with this break. We're going to move to 5A. Randy, I'll start first with the Historical Society top 10 projections. They got Ramsey 1, Charles Henderson 2. Those two played for it last year. Faith Academy, Pleasant Grove, Leeds, and then you got Moody, Demopolis, Beauregard, UMS Wright, and Central Clay. That's pretty solid top 10. That's 10 really good football programs right there. Not to the 5A's not to the level of 6A. 6A's got 25 of them. But the 10 here in 5A, and I'll kick it over and let you talk about the Sports Writers poll. Those are 10 really good football programs.
Pretty close. I mean, when you look at both polls matched up with one another, they're pretty equal. Ramsey and Charles Henderson 1 and 2, UMS Wright 3, Pleasant Grove 4, Faith Academy 5, Leeds 6, Moody 7, Beauregard 8, Gulf Shores 9, and Demopolis comes in at 10. Right outside of the top 10, much like Benjamin Russell, Central Clay is the 11th team, along with Gunnersville that comes in right after them. But Beauregard back in the top 10 in 5A. Been a while.
You talk about getting drummed the last few years.
Yeah. Ooh, after doing a lot of drumming.
Well, they did a lot of drumming, and then they were getting drummed. And that's, again, we talk about it a lot. You bring it up. Man, communities just have to ride the waves, man. When you have good times, you better ride them because the trough is coming. You know, it is what it is. And Beauregard won a state championship, and then they went down to as low as like Vestavia, like you said, winning one game, going, you know, just not even competitive. A lot of teams beating them by 4 and 5 touchdowns, and to see them get themselves back into a position where they can be in the top 10 in their classification, I know that's big for them. When we come back, I want to kind of look at that. We'll hopefully have Luke Robinson on the phone with us here to start the second hour, but I want to look at Vestavia's record and want to look up and see what Beauregard did. I know we were going to look at some of the teams in the past and see what they were able to do as far as previous years, and did they lose again? You know, because it all kind of mixes together. But we know that Dayville is the only program ever to go 0-10 one year and 10-0 the next. Do you know how hard that is? They went 0-10. I mean, I think it needs to be said almost yearly to kind of give that an accolade. You go from 0-10. This is not college where you can change a coach and you can go out and literally bring an entire new team in. You're really taking basically the same players that you went 0-10 with and went 10-0. That's one of the – I don't know if that'll ever be done again.
I know most schools would like to think that it can't be done. Again, as it reminds me of, I watched the 2013 Auburn-Alabama Iron Bowl last night, and, you know, you have to sit back and remember, first off, it was what a game, you know, back and forth. But Auburn was they evenly matched Alabama that night. I mean, Alabama had some huge plays, and they could have won the football game just as much as Auburn, but it wasn't like it wasn't a fluke by no means.
That game was so fun.
Yes.
You know, obviously for the team that loses, you don't look back on it and say it's a lot of fun. But from a 30,000-foot perspective, people watching football,
yes,
not having a dog in the fight, you're going, man, this game, I don't want it to end. This thing just keeps going, and so.
But if you think back to Auburn lost 49-0 the year before, and it could have been 100-0, that's an amazing turnaround.
That's an amazing turnaround too.
Yeah.
So up against the top of the hour break, we come back. We'll have Luke Robinson with us to start the second hour and kind of look up some of these stats from the past couple of years as well. Stay tuned. Second hour coming up right after this.
It's truck season at AHSAA Automotive. New Honda Ridgelines, $349 a month. Ford Rangers, $357 a month. Nissan Frontiers, $379 a month. And Chevrolet Silverados, $399 a month at AHSAA Automotive. Plus, you get a lifetime warranty, no charge, engine, powertrain, and more. It's truck season at AHSAA Honda, Tony Serra Ford, Serra Nissan, and Serra Chevrolet.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. with the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau tri-tunes, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com. You don't have to ask who, what, or why. Who's Diner is the go-to place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Conveniently located at the corner of Highway 22 and 280 in Alex City. Who's Diner offers the best meals and the best deals in town. Try our fresh, made-from-scratch pancakes, chicken salad, Philly cheesesteak, or the Who Burger. It doesn't get any better than who? Who's Diner, of course, on the corner of Highway 22 and 280. Who's hungry? The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider. Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Coastal Construction Design is the area's storm specialist experts and offers free roof inspections absolutely free to assess your needs. Their roofing experts get your home or commercial needs handled from start to finish. They have worked with all major insurance sources for decades, and they are permitted and approved for Lake Martin. Coastal Construction Design also handles exterior restoration, including siding and gutters. They are also a GAF certified contractor. Visit coastalconstruction.pro or call 251-215-3429. Coastal Construction Design. All things roofing from start to end.
Let Riverbank and Trust open doors for you. Whether you're purchasing land, a lot by the lake, or building or buying a home, begin with Tallapoosa County's loan experts. They'll guide you through the entire process, providing local decision-making, prompt responses, and the best real estate loan solutions for your unique needs. And in most cases, Riverbank and Trust can close your loan in 30 days or less, and they'll walk by your side every step of the way. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. We invite you to experience it for yourself.
Welcome back, everyone, to hour number 2 of the Saturday Sports Countdown. We're going to go to the phone lines, welcoming our good friend Luke Robinson. Before we do that, Randy, went back and looked at some of these numbers. We talked about McGill-Toolen being a program that is kind of odd. They're an anomaly. They compete for championships, but every time we look down, it seems like every year they're replacing a coach, and you're like, well, what's the deal? Well, they've had 5 coaches in the last 10 years, so you're averaging, a coach staying a couple of years and leaving. But, Randy, it's not because they're not successful. I mean, all the way back to Keith Powell, 22-4 record. Mike Dean, 14-8. Then you had Bart Sessions that went 34-5. Caleb Ross went 30-8. Ernest Hill went 40-8. And now David Faulkner takes over. It's just odd, man. It's just a different deal. But McGill-Toolen kind of perseveres. Hey, it doesn't matter who their head coach is. They kind of find a way to do it. Let's welcome in Luke Robinson, our good friend and co-host. Luke, good to hear from you, buddy.
How are y'all today?
We're doing good, man, and just talked about high school for a lot of the first hour, so we're going to dive in to college football, man. We're only a few weeks out, and, I kind of teased it in the first part of the show. For the first time in a long time, Alabama goes into a fall camp trying to figure out who their quarterback's going to be. So kind of give us an update on where Alabama is as far as their practice schedule, their scrimmages, and anything you're hearing about the quarterbacks.
As far as quarterbacks go, it's just very difficult to discern right now. Honestly, my cohort on Locked On Bama, Jimmy Stein, is as plugged in as anybody I know, and he just doesn't know either. It's not a guarded secret. I think it's a combination of a little secrecy and nobody's taken the reins yet. And for whatever reason, the coaches have just sort of let this play out a little longer. I think they want to see who will really step up. I was on the Ty Simpson train. I've said this all the time, and I still think Ty Simpson may ultimately be the guy. But I'm talking myself. I've talked myself into Jalen Milroe, not because when I say talk myself into, I don't mean it like begrudgingly. In fact, I think for Alabama, if you could say, all right, if all three quarterbacks were good, who would be best for Alabama in terms of brand, in terms of notoriety, in terms of garnering the spotlight? I don't think there's any question it's Jalen Milroe. I mean, that guy's a freak of nature. He looks like remember Pat Swilling, who played for Georgia Tech? I mean, that's who he looks like to me, but he's playing quarterback. He's not playing safety. He's huge, and he runs like a gazelle. If he is your quarterback and he's good, and as good as the other two, then I think that garners a lot of attention. And I think he's the one that could have a shot. If they're all very good. This is not me saying Jalen Milroe is going to win the Heisman. Please don't get it twisted. But if they're all really good and Alabama's doing well, Alabama's starting quarterback will get Heisman attention. And I think if that quarterback were Jalen Milroe, I think that would be better for Alabama in terms of just notoriety and brand. But that being said, they obviously brought in Tyler Buchner for a reason. And frankly, the last open practice they had, I had as many people bragging about Dylan Lonergan as I did about any of the other quarterbacks. So it is very difficult to read right now. There is a scrimmage today at 12:30. Maybe there'll be some clarity after that. I'm not super optimistic about it. It feels like this is going to be something that drags on a little bit. And I think it would be I would love to have this thing settled and just say, okay, we're going to ride or die with Buchner or Milroe or Simpson or Lonergan or Eli Holstein or whoever we're going to ride or die with until we can't ride or die with them anymore. I think that would be certainly ideal because what I hate is if you come into the Middle State game, right, and you go in and let's say Milroe starts and he leads the team to 2 field goals on his first 2 drives or, God forbid, no points on his first 2 drives. I mean, the questions are going to be starting immediately. The people are going to be calling for his head, and that would be the same if it were Simpson in the starting role, if it were Lonergan in the starting role, if it were Buchner in the starting role, whatever. Whoever goes out there, and if they aren't really good in those first couple of drives against Middle Tennessee, everybody's going to be clamoring for the backup because the most popular player at Alabama before the Saban era always was the backup quarterback. When it was Jay Barker, it was Brian Bergdorf. When it was Tyler Watts, it was Andrew Zhao, and when it was Andrew Zhao, it was Tyler Watts. I mean, that's just the way it's always been at Alabama until Saban got there. And then, people were able to really wrap their arms around the starters. But this year it feels like, when Luke was in college at Alabama, like everybody's pulling for a Brian Bergdorf to come out of the woodwork.
We saw Georgia a few years ago have this happen. They opened up the season, and it's funny. You go through camp, and you go through all of this, and you discern who your quarterback's going to be, and then they get out there and they struggle, and that's when Stetson Bennett stepped onto the scene. And they just knew, and I can't remember the kid's name that was the starter, but he was the guy that everybody felt like was going to be the next great quarterback at Georgia. He couldn't get it done, and Stetson Bennett came on the scene. Is that something – I mean, obviously, this is a position Alabama could be in that they could figure out, they think who's going to be the guy, and then get in the game and it not work out, and a guy comes off the bench and becomes the starter. I mean, you're at that position right now.
Yeah, and again, it's there's some positives to it. You're making all these guys still work really hard. You're not letting anybody get down. But I think it just the tension becomes a lot. And especially when it's 3 or maybe even 4 guys vying for the spot instead of just 2. If it's 2 guys, you got to keep an eye on. Man, if it's 3 or 4 guys, it gets so difficult. So, but all that being said, Nick Saban's done this a lot longer and a lot better than I ever could have. So I think I'm going to trust him on this. There's no doubt about it. But I certainly would like some clarity.
Luke, give all of us that don't know as much about Tommy Rees and the offensive coordinator there, coming over from Notre Dame, what should we expect from the offense? I know that may be dependent on who the quarterback is, but give all of us an idea of what he brings to the table.
He's not going to be quite as pass happy, but he's not averse to the pass. And I think that's a good place to be. It felt like Alabama at times last year maybe got, and maybe even the year before, got a little drunk on Bryce Young's talent. I still believe Bryce Young is either the greatest player in Alabama history or at least in the top 3. I mean, I just think he's amazing. I know he didn't win a national championship, but, boy, I do not put that at his feet. I thought he was just incredible, and I think what you're seeing him do at Carolina already, you know, getting these rave reviews at practice is going to solidify my opinion there. But go back to the Tennessee game. Bill O'Brien caused 3 straight passes late in the game where we could have run the ball a couple of times, at least run the clock out, even if we had missed the field goal to win it and gotten a little bit closer. Instead, we called 3 straight passes because I think we were all so enamored with what Bryce Young can do. And Bryce Young threw one beautiful pass to Jahmyr Gibbs. It was just dropped. But I think Tommy Rees is going to be the guy that's we're going to be a little more downhill. Now, everybody gets so excited about that. Look, I'm a guy who happened to love the Tua, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, even Jalen Hurts, even to some degree, eras where we took more shots down the field. But I understand we need to get to more of our mentality of make their bleep quit. The offensive line is sort of taken on that mantra. You know, will they do it? It remains to be seen. But Alabama offensive lines have been very good in the past and not so good in the recent past. So I would like to see them step up a little bit. I think Tommy Rees is going to use the tight end a little more, and I know Alabama fans are ecstatic over that because for whatever reason, all of us Alabama fans, and I include me, have had this affinity for tight ends for no reason. I don't know why. And maybe college football is always like that. Like, boy, if we could just get a tight end. It's very rare that a tight end will take you to a national championship. But for whatever reason, the fans always seem to love tight ends a lot, maybe because they feel like he's the forgotten man, and if he's good, he can really make a difference. I don't know.
Well, most of the time, the tight end's wide open. That's why.
Yeah, well, that's what people always say that, though, Brett. That's the thing, is everybody always says, man, if we just throw it to the tight end right here. And then, and I've been in that posture, too. But one thing, it finally dawned on me, like, what if the tight end just isn't very good and they don't trust him to make that catch? You know, if he's wide open and he can't catch, it doesn't do you any good.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, at Auburn, we knew we had some good ones, and they still went through it to them. So, hey, but before we let you go, Luke, kind of an update on recruiting for Alabama right now.
Yeah, Alabama got a commitment from Red Morgan from Central Phoenix City. The staff loved him. He was not really heavily pursued. And then he comes to Alabama's camp and he performs really, really well. He raised my eyebrows, Red Morgan did, several months ago. He announced, for Florida State over Auburn. And it sort of raised my eyebrows because I hadn't heard much about this kid. And I was thinking, wow, that's interesting. I mean, because Auburn's recruiting is really picked up, and FSU's recruiting gangbusters right now. So I was like, this is wild that they are taking his commitment because I haven't heard a ton about him. And then when I started hearing Alabama is getting more involved, it just sort of piqued my interest. Saw some tape on him. He's a really good player. He came to camp, showed out, and I think Nick Saban just fell in love with him, and he made him a priority. In the end, I could almost bet you this will be to the chagrin of some folks, but he's going to get that Bama bump. You can just bet on it. And one of the reasons is because if you're being recruited by Alabama under Nick Saban, you probably are at the very least a 4-star guy. So he's plays for a fantastic program in Central Phoenix City. He's going to be going up against, you have to imagine in practice, a guy like Cam Coleman, who's probably the best wide receiver in the country, if not in the top 3. So, I mean, he's playing at the highest level classification in Alabama, and he's doing very well. So I know that they like him a lot. There's another guy, Jay Lindsey, that's a tight end committed to Mississippi State from the state of Alabama right now. And Alabama may be working to flip him. He's not going to turn a lot of heads, I don't think, but he's a very workman-like player. Very not super dynamic, but very trustworthy, good blocker. And I think that Alabama may end up flipping him too. So those are the two latest I can think of.
Well, Luke, we appreciate it, brother. And again, stay cool out there, a little bit warm, and we'll catch up with you this coming up week.
Yep, can't wait, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Luke with the scoreboard show and Andy, and we talked about that. Didn't talk about it in the first hour. We talked about it on Friday. Scoreboard show, another year coming up. So Luke, JJ, and Andy do a great job on that show, and every Friday night, 10 to midnight for 13 weeks, carry all the way through the quarterfinals. So up against another break. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Now at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, the new full-size GMC Sierra 4x4 Crew Cab is counted up to $9,500 off. The popular GMC Terrain with payments as low as $379 a month. Shop online anytime at glennsmith.com. That's GLYNN Smith.com. Plus, no payments for 120 days at Glenn Smith GMC.
Over 250 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way to Glenn Smith and Opelika. Get ready to smile.
The Alabama Slammer. It's a popular drink at parties, but drink too many and you'll wind up in this Alabama Slammer. And if you drink and drive, get ready for a real Alabama Slammer. If you're involved in a crash where a driver's been drinking, you're 4 times more likely to die.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
There's only one clear choice in the Lake Martin area for plumbing, heating, and air. That's All Clear Plumbing and Air. Our professionally trained technicians offer full-service repair and installation on all major brands. From drips to water heaters, thermostats to entire air conditioning and heating systems, and everything in between. Our fast, reliable, and guaranteed top-notch customer service will keep you informed and up to speed through the entire process. Call us today or look for us on Facebook and Instagram at All Clear Plumbing and Air, 256-496-2056. License number 19172.
If you haven't been to Big B Barbecue in Alex City, then you're missing the best barbecue around. Big B has everything from the best pulled or chopped pork, chicken, and beef to cheeseburgers and grilled chicken salads. Bring your friends and family out for a great dinner and sit outside on our beautiful patio, or sit inside and enjoy your meal by the fireplace. So come in and join us and enjoy the best barbecue in the area only at Big B Barbecue, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City.
Hi, this is Jimmy Gorey at Gorey's Furniture. Come join us for the madness of March. Come join us here at Gorey's Furniture. Make a purchase, shoot from the line, 5, 10 to 15. That's % discount off your total ticket. So come join us. Let's have fun. Everyone's a winner. Everyone will save. Come join us for the madness of March, and that's only at Gorey's Furniture.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We got some comments coming in. Good to hear from Wade down there at Radio Free Auburn, man. He said JR's is the place. Eat there when you're now at City. Also sends along good morning. Patrick just pushed out the YouTube highlights of Zaquan Patterson, another high target for Auburn. 4-star safety, immediately became a priority after KJ Bolden decided to go to Florida State, and they're pushing hard there. And Patrick comes back and says, let me be a homer for a second. How are the Wildcats going to do this year? So we expect.
They got a great team. Yep. I think athletically it may be the best group top to bottom from a skill position standpoint that we've ever had in school history. And that's saying a lot. You know, you try not to make it bigger than you should, and but I truly do believe that. I think from a quarterback standpoint, Gabe Benton has not received those SEC offers that I think he deserves.
Right.
I think he'll throw for over 3,000 yards, probably around 40-plus touchdowns, and only a few interceptions on the season. Last year he had right at 3,000 yards with 32 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the season. And he's 6'3", 210, checks all the boxes, deserves to be checked out. Sedarian Morgan's a sophomore receiver coming up. He's 6'3", 6'4", weighs about 210. He'll be a 4- to 5-star guy that will get all the offers that he wants out there. That's one coming up. And Malcolm Simmons is a difference maker. He's one of the top, if not the top athlete in the state. I would put him right up there with Ryan Williams and others. He's moving out to receiver. He had 170 yards and a half against Gardendale and 3 touchdowns. Should have not a breakout season because everyone knows who he is, but he should have a breakout season from a statistical standpoint this year, not having to be as much back there at the running back position. Benjamin Russell's where we are a lot of times, Patrick, and you know this very well because you played the position. Do we have the guys that on the line of scrimmage can allow us to compete with the top of the classification here in 6A? That's to be determined. We get what we get. A lot of times we have to run a 5'11", 220-pound mini mite out there to try to block some of these guys at some of these bigger schools, and we've had the capabilities of doing it in the past, and hopefully we can this year because I think all the other pieces are there.
Yeah, going back to Malcolm, you made a comment. His first half against Gardendale in that spring game, he made a catch. You know, Gabe puts the ball, you know, the good thing about it, and you said this, you know, Malcolm and these receivers, if you don't have a guy like Gabe Benton back there, to get them the football and to give them an opportunity to show highlights, maybe they don't get as much looks. Maybe they don't get as many looks. But Gabe also, with his talent as he is and what he has to throw to, they have such good chemistry, all of the receivers do. David Lawson, Chris Foster, Malcolm Simmons, Sedarian Morgan, and the list goes on, that he can just throw the ball to a spot and they will go get it. And that's what Malcolm did. It's good coverage by the guy over the top, was running with Malcolm.
Not a well-thrown football. Not a underthrown.
It was. And Malcolm made an adjustment and really kind of Willie Mays caught it over his shoulder. And then got a little separation and pulled away from the defender. And, you know, that was a display there in his ability to go up and find the football. Not just I'm going to run a sprint down the field and guy's going to throw it and I'm just going to outrun a guy and, you know, I'm going to use my speed. I've got true wide receiver skills where I can go up, locate the football, catch it, and then pull away from my guy and score a touchdown. So that's what Malcolm did at camp at Auburn. That really kind of raised eyebrows and, again, like you said, going to be predicated to wide receiver only this year unless there's injuries or something like that. He'll be full-time there, and he's going to get a lot of targets. And, you know, the good thing about it is, and Coach Grider was on this show a few weeks ago, he said, we got the best wide receiver core in the state, and he said the reason I say that is because we line up 4 guys, and we're going to make it really tough on defenses to figure out who they want to double or who they want to focus on. And you can't really double anybody when you line up 4 guys that are potentially D1 guys.
Well, it's all you could ask for. I mean, we're going to be competitive. I'll go ahead and answer that. We're going to probably put up as many points as we've ever put up on the offensive side of the ball. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. Shift back over real quick before we go to break, and then we'll carry this over in football for Auburn. 4-star defensive lineman T.J. Lindsey set to make an announcement today from IMG. You know, he's about, you know, they've got him right here at 6'3", 291 pounds. He's a plugger, and he's got really good, fast feet. And he can move, and he's not just a guy that just sits down. He's one of those guys up along the front that's very aggressive. He's going to choose between Auburn, Texas, Texas A&M, Miami, and Alabama. So, again, you go back and you look at offer list. That's really, in our opinion, what you want to see. Who are the other schools offering the guys you're going after? And that's as impressive an offer list as you can get. And anytime you go to IMG and you get one of their top players, you're getting a good player.
All the ones we're after have that offer list.
Right.
You know, and that's a difference. That hasn't been the case, and it's also, you know, you've got to have muted expectations for this year because the players that we're depending so highly on this year for this team coming up are guys that didn't get those type of offers. Now, have they played a lot of football and have they been successful wherever they've been? Sure. But these are the guys that win in the SEC consistently, and I think we could put a positive product out there on the field this year, but keep getting some of these guys.
Another big one that should be coming soon. Seemed like Kamarion Franklin was a dark horse that has now shifted up to maybe the Auburn might be the leader for him. Now, from number 1 player in the state of Mississippi, number 8 defensive tackle in the country. He's a top 50 player in the country composite-wise. He's 6'5", 265, 270 pounds. Was supposed to be in there at Big Cat Weekend, didn't make it, but guess what? He showed up on Monday and stayed till Tuesday. And, I mean, again, this is the kind of player that starts swinging your team and your roster in the right direction. The T.J. Lindsays, the Kamarion Franklins, the DeAndre Carters. I mean, Auburn going out to California. Right now, everybody feels like it's a 2-horse race between Auburn and Michigan State. But from modern-day California, one of the top high school programs in the country, the number 2 interior offensive lineman in the nation, and Auburn.
Who's the last one of those we signed? Who's the last
Randy,
number 2?
We ain't been signing any offensive lineman, much less somebody in the top 5. I mean, you got to stop for just a second and appreciate what Hugh Freeze has done since December. I mean, just think about it, man. We're just in August. And 51 players on Auburn's roster left. I want you to think about that. Transfer portal, graduated, got out. 51 players. Auburn's had to go back and replace. All of this going on, it would be so easy. And, of course, coaches are using that. You don't want to go to Auburn. Look at that. I mean, everybody's looking. Mm-hmm. Man, he is reeling in some of the better recruits that we've seen in the last 15 years at Auburn. Just wait if he does have a little success on the field and get some momentum. I mean, this is just the beginning. I mean, if Auburn were to get Kamarion Franklin to go along with
DeAndre Carter, those 2 guys.
Yeah.
If you were to pull those 2 guys.
But, I mean, you got Perry Thompson and DeMarcus Riddick, who are 5-stars going somewhere with this. But you get a Kamarion Franklin, you get a guy that's the number 2 interior offensive lineman in the country. I mean, that's unbelievable. To do what he's done, and in our text thread, somebody said the other day, does he looks tired. I said, he is tired because he hadn't slept. I mean, you can't be sleeping when you're doing this. I mean, then you're looking at a possibility of Zaquan Patterson adding in here, and then I think it'll be a 2-horse race for Bradley Shaw here in the state at Hoover. I think it'll be Alabama or Auburn. I think it's probably 50-50 right now. I know he's got Clemson listed in there, but I really think when it comes down to it, most of the time the Hoover guys either choose Alabama or Auburn.
They do.
So, I mean, look at what's left. I mean, on the offer sheet, and what Auburn's trying to go out and get. This is very similar to what Alabama and Georgia's offer sheets look like. Well, we all said, what do we got to do to get back to where we're competing on a year-in, year-out basis, those 2 programs? Getting players like that. You said it. You go back and refer to that list all the time about the top 300. You know, when Alabama gets 22 or 3 and we get 10. I mean, they got two times as many as we did. We had a good class. But when they're doubling you up and they keep stacking players like Cordwood, it's hard to catch up.
Did you tell me a fact, I think it's a fact, that there's only a couple of players that Brian Harsin...
2.
Say it again.
2 players on the roster that Brian Harsin recruited that are left.
That's almost impossible.
I mean, you talk about a fire drill. I mean, every exit door opened up. People sprinted out as fast as they could get the heck out of Dodge, man. I mean.
Who are the 2?
I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. But, yeah, I read that. It's amazing that's where it had gotten to, out of a roster. Now, he wasn't there long. I mean, it ain't like he had a boatload of recruits in there. But the ones he got either weren't even good, I'm sorry, or wanted to get the heck out of Dodge and go somewhere else. So, Hugh Freeze basically started over. I mean, if you want to think about it. I mean, you give a 2-year gap for any program right now, and it's like David said when he talked to Brent Betzow, he said if it weren't for the transfer portal, Auburn had been set back 5 years before they could get the roster back. But, and as you said, and I hear what you're saying about these guys and that Auburn's going to have to rely on this year, at least they got the number one center or number one player in Avery Jones. At least they got Gunnar Britton, who lined up at Western Kentucky and whipped our tail last year. I looked over there and said, man, that guy's pretty good. Wish we had him on our team. And then you got Dylan Wade that comes in, and a lot of people wanted Dylan Wade. And so you got some guys that have some experience. No, did they get those offers coming out of high school?
You pieced it together.
They pieced it together, but they're better than what we had.
Yeah.
Which is the good thing. And I think Coach Freeze made that, and we got to get to break, but he said that at media days. He said, we've improved our roster. He said, but so has everybody else. He said, but that's the name of the game. You know what you're dealing with. The one thing I like about Hugh Freeze, and I think Auburn fans are fired up about it, is he knows what it takes to win in this league. And it takes really good players. And he's always been able to recruit for all the knocks and how he got them to miss Ole Miss. You know, just like everybody else gets their players to come to their school. That's how you win championships, is you get the top players, and he knows how to do it. Up against the break, stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Talladega Outdoors in Talladega is your authorized Kawasaki sale and service center. Your home for Bad Boy mowers and Kimco scooters, four-wheelers, and side-by-sides. Rather for hunting, land management, or recreation, they have the ride for you. But they are also everything outdoor with full lines of accessories and is now your Ariat workwear and boot store, along with kayaks and outdoor accessories. Talladega Outdoor, Highway 21 in Talladega. Everything outdoor and Alabama's #1 Kawasaki dealer.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
If you're tired of the same old and you're hungry for something really good, then it's time to go to JR's Sports Bar and Grill. JR's has the best fingers and wings around, and their menu is loaded with appetizers, burgers, salads, and so much more. Follow JR's on their Facebook to keep up with their live music events and drink specials. And if after a long day you just want to stay in, remember JR's delivers. Call in your order at 256-329-2328. JR Sports Bar and Grill, 145 Alabama Street in Alexander City.
They say we live in an age of big data, where computers and fancy algorithms are supposed to know you best. But at Country Financial, we know helping you own your future requires, well, something much bigger. Contact your local Country Financial representative and start planning for your future with a personal touch.
When you need an automotive hero, you got to call S&S Discount Tire Pros. With locations in Alexander City and Dayville, we are here to serve you today. From quick services like oil changes and tire rotations to in-depth automotive repairs such as suspensions, brakes, and tune-ups, S&S can take care of all your tire needs. You just have to focus on what's important and love the drive. Call S&S Discount Tire Pros today. We are automotive heroes, and we are here to serve you.
Truckloads of fresh inventory are rolling into Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. Check out the powerful new Chevrolet Silverado four-wheel drive crew cab. Discounted up to $11,250 off. Chevy Equinox with 0 down as low as $329 per month. Chevy Malibu 0 down as low as $369 per month.
Get your best price every day at Glenn Smith in Opelika, on the lot or online at glennsmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We're going to catch up real quick, real short segment here as we got to catch up on a break. But so it's a good time to say, here in the middle of football season, guess what we're going to talk about? 5-star center, number 1 center in the country. And, you know, there's really not a center position anymore, so this guy's going to play forward. Number 1 player in the state of Indiana, from Kokomo, Indiana. Number 4 overall player in the country, Flory Badunga, 6'8", 215 pounds. Will announce tonight at the is it the Super 24 or the Top 24 game, Under Armour game on ESPN-U tonight at 8 o'clock between Auburn, Kansas, Duke, Michigan. And just in the last 24 hours, seems like the crystal ball predictions from the Duke guys and the Kansas guys have shifted to Auburn now. So something happened yesterday, maybe a phone call to Duke's head coach from him saying, hey, Coach, I appreciate it, but I'm going to, because that's what happens. Most of these guys, when they got a Final Four, they call the coaches of the ones and so we appreciate, just the right thing to do. Because, look, you never know when you're Walker Kessler. And Bruce Pearl talked about this. You don't burn bridges because Walker Kessler goes to North Carolina, doesn't work out for him, comes back and comes to Auburn. So seems to me that little inside information there that Flory Badunga, now, again, he could go anywhere. But, man, how big would that be if Auburn were to land this guy?
I don't even know how to put words to it. It's amazing. You've lived in a program that used every excuse under the book for why you can't do something, and then you get the right leader in with the right personality and the right salesmanship and marketing ability, and he changes the whole dynamic of a program maybe from now on. That's how big
refuses to be told no.
That's how big of a hire that was for Auburn, because now we have proven to Flory Badunga and anybody else that's watching out there that we're as passionate about basketball in Alabama as anywhere. And what have you done for the University of Alabama? The same. You've risen their game up to a point where they're winning multiple SEC championships. So 2 of the top programs in the entire country here in the state of Alabama. And if I'd have said that to y'all on a program 10 years ago, you'd have said, what in the world is wrong with you for even thinking that could be the case? And here it is.
For all the crap that's going on in this world, that's a bright spot.
That is a bright spot, and I don't see it ending. Luke's been screaming at me and you about that. Stop saying that it's a flash in the pan, that we've, hey, this is here to be. Auburn and Alabama are here to be in basketball.
I think they're here now. I think they've arrived, and everybody, we kind of have to do this with Auburn fans a lot of times. Auburn fans we're just glad to be there. I'm not glad to be there anymore. And everybody's like, well, you look at us where we were 10 years. We're not 10 years. Quit looking back at what the program was 10 years ago and say, we're past that. This is our new standard now. And this is what we're going to expect moving forward. It's good to have high expectations. Don't quit using the same old, 5-10 years ago, we were just glad to have a winning season. Well, we've proven that we've passed that point now. So let's not go back into the past and dig that up. Once you've done something 4, 5, 6 years in a row, then that's really who you are now. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is, Randy, it seems like every year Auburn and Bruce Pearl their top player from the year before. Oh, that's the highest player in Auburn history. Well, next year, that's the highest player in Jabari Smith and Sharif Cooper and Isaac Okoro, and the list keeps going on. And now, if this happens, and then you get Flory Badunga, he'll be the new top player. So eventually, we'll be at number 1 overall, and the only way you can say, well, he'll equal the top player in history, and that's what Bruce Pearl's done, man.
You said it well. He's as good a coach as we've ever had over there.
He is. So stay tuned tonight for that. I know a lot of Auburn fans will be glued to the TV. Wouldn't normally probably be watching that game on ESPNU tonight, but
well, you didn't even know the name of it.
I still don't know the name.
You won't know it next year.
I won't care. Probably won't watch this tonight. Probably just be looking on Twitter, so or X or whatever you call it now. Stay tuned. More Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
Heritage South Credit Union in Alexander City is your community credit union, and they have been for over 80 years. Heritage South Credit Union proudly serves Tallapoosa, Coosa, Lee, Chambers, Randolph, and Chilton counties. From checking to business accounts, to share savings to club accounts, to their kids club and investments. Visit them online at myhscu.com. Heritage South Credit Union, your community credit union for 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
Planting season is here, and the Potting Shed Garden Center is happy to give you professional landscaping advice when it comes to planting your shrubs and trees. Auburn's best kept secret will have it all this fall. Mums, pansies, pumpkins, and much more. All in an array of colors and sizes, along with beautiful pots and containers, indoor plants, and a great selection of other gardening gifts. It's all at the Potting Shed Garden Shop, where natural elements reign supreme. Located on the corner of Moore's Mill and Society Hill Road in Auburn.
Have you stopped by Lifesavers Mission Thrift Store lately? If you haven't, you should. You'll find great pieces for your favorite do-it-yourself project. Lightly used name brand clothing by Free People, North Face, Matilda Jane, Patagonia, and a whole lot more. And while you're there, don't miss the shoes, decorative pieces, classic and new books, and Auburn and Alabama gear that won't cost you a fortune. So stop and shop at Lifesavers Mission Thrift Store today for a unique thrift experience that won't break the budget. Lifesavers Mission Thrift, located on East University behind Zaxby's.
Lake Area Realty specializes in Lake Martin real estate. They can help simplify your next real estate purchase or sell, and have helped many home buyers and sellers through the area buy and sell real estate with precision. Lake Area Realty utilizes powerful marketing tools and knowledge of the lake to help you with your next move. Call your local hometown agency today, Lake Area Realty, at 256-825-4800. That's 256-825-4800. Lake Area Realty, helping you find your way home.
Looking to sell your car, truck, or SUV? Look no further than King Honda. As a local family-owned business, we're committed to providing you with the best service and value. Nobody pays you more for your vehicle than King Honda.
You've trusted us for generations. You can trust King Honda to give you top dollar for your vehicle, whether you buy from us or not. Trust in our time-tested tradition of excellence at King Honda.
Visit King Honda today and get top dollar for your vehicle. Located on the corner of Opelika Highway and 280.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown. Couple segments left in this Saturday show. Patrick said Auburn's raised the bar in the state. He said Alabama followed up. He said now South Alabama, UAB, and Troy are following. So
yes, they are.
I mean,
great coaches in each, in communities that have embraced and love basketball.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's talk about obviously Auburn and Alabama scrimmaging today. We'll get reports out of that. I think both of them are looking at the same thing as priority right now. Alabama trying to figure out, do you think Jalen Milroe will be the guy? I really kind of feel like he'll be the guy to start. You know, whether he can grab the reins and be the guy that Alabama needs. You know, one thing that Nick Saban, of course, most successful coaches look at is, can you protect the football? And Jalen Milroe had some issues last year when he come in and, you know, and holding on the football when Bryce Young was injured. He had to, you know, threw an interception, maybe fumbled a couple times. You're going to have a short leash. You turn the football over.
I watched last night, the 2013 Iron Bowl, and I just love the brand of football a versatile quarterback that can run the football like Nick Marshall did that year brings to the table. And if Jalen Milroe can run that option game and truly run it, because Nick Marshall could flat do it,
right.
And he was exceptional at making you miss and running, and getting away from defenders that looked like they had a bead on him. He was so good. I think we knew how good he was, but the further we get away from him, you see how good. So I don't know. I wonder if Alabama wants to go back to that brand of football again, because they've been so far from it. They've been so pass-happy for the last, 5 or 6 years?
Right. Well, they've had the quarterbacks to implement that, but like Luke said, I think they may have lost a little edge up front. They haven't been as physical. They want to go back to that brand of football.
Mm-hmm.
That would predicate more of that type of offense that you're talking about if Jalen Milroe wins the job. Now, if Ty Simpson wins the job, you're going to be throwing the football all around the field. Probably the same thing with Buckner. Look at the same situation for Auburn. If Robbie Ashford were to win the job, you're definitely going to have plays and offense that is designed to utilize his talents. And part of his major talent base has been being able to scramble. Peyton Thorne, it's not going to be as much. It doesn't mean that Peyton Thorne's got concrete block feet, but he's going to be a guy that drops back, completes 63% of his passes, and throws for 2,700 yards. That's who you want to have back there in that offense. And then, of course, Holden Geriner probably going to lend himself more along the Peyton Thorne type. So it's a tough decision for Hugh Freeze and Nick Saban, depending on who wins that job or who they feel like is the best guy.
It's so odd to see how evenly matched. I'm not saying player for player, but how even the options are.
Right.
Because it does feel like we have the same 3 options going both ways.
It is. It's going to be interesting to see.
So I don't know. I would, as an Auburn fan, I wouldn't mind seeing it be Robbie Ashford. I hope that the offense is. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be Peyton Thorne.
I do too. I think it will be.
I wouldn't mind it. And if I were an Alabama fan, I would just hope that you put an offense in place with Jalen Milroe that presents the skill set. And you never know, though.
I think he'll get the start.
Just because you've got the athleticism like he and Robbie have doesn't mean that you're going to run that option play as well as Nick Marshall did.
Oh, no.
So
some people have an innate skill.
They do.
You can be an athlete, but, we watched a high school quarterback in 2015 here at Benjamin Russell. You don't coach that. There's no drill you can run with guys to give you that instinct. Some guys just have vision. Some guys already know where the hole is before it forms.
Yep.
And so you don't coach that. I mean, Malik Cunningham it was one of those guys, and Malik Willis, same kind of deal. Those guys have a vision. I coached a little kid in Little League. We were talking about Little League during the break, and I told y'all about him. He ended up playing at Benj Russell and being a good running back. But the difference maker he was in Little League is he could see things that other kids. His vision was so much better at finding a hole that wasn't there, being able to create space. That's just a God-given talent, and that's what Nick Marshall had. Nick Marshall probably ran that offense better than anybody we've ever watched run it. That's why Auburn was successful and made it to the national title game. Other things, as far as the SEC, we talked about it this week on the Auburn Blitz. It's a meat grinder conference. Maybe top to bottom, the most talent in this conference. Everybody's better. I mean, Arkansas fans, they've got expectations. We had Mississippi State guy on Tuesday night. He said he thinks their basement's 8-4. I almost fell out of the seat over here on the air. Go back and watch the show. I went, what? I'm thinking he's going to say, we might be 7-5 or 6-6. I mean, no, he's high on what they're doing, and they've got their Will Rogers back at quarterback, and they won 9 games last year. He says, why not? So you look at Kentucky. They've been the most consistent program in the SEC. Why would they expect to not go out and do what they've done? Alabama and Georgia and LSU. LSU's roster's better. Texas A&M's got as many good players as anybody. Can they get over the hump? Auburn's got reason to be, excited. Kind of just new players, new coaching staff. Everybody's kind of got a buzz about them this year. South Carolina's better. Florida is supposed to be better. Tennessee coming off last year. They want to take the next step.
I think everything you're saying's the reason that Auburn fans need to be realistic.
Everybody's better.
Everybody's better, and it should be. Should be that way.
That's right.
I mean, if you're coaching in the SEC and you've got SEC caliber players, I mean, your expectation should be really high. And we are. You know, we're on a text thread with our dads, and mine's always like, you know, y'all have got to understand that we've got a bunch of guys that were starting at Western Kentucky.
Right.
That we're expecting an awful lot out. And so you really do. And so I'd be thrilled with a 500 mark or a slightly above 500 mark in this league this year.
Yeah. It's every game is a meat grinder. And then, you know, you got a tough trip out to Cal. I mean, Cal's not the best program, but, you know, it's a 9:30 start. It's the first road trip. Got a bunch of new guys. It'll be a formidable opponent for us. It'll be interesting. So up against the final break of the show. Stay tuned. One final segment right after this.
At C&T Electric, our clients are our priority. For the safety and security of your family and home, our technicians are professionally trained, drug tested, background checked, and wear uniforms with name tags. We're proud to have served the Elk City, Dadeville, and Lake Martin areas for the past 10 years. Give us a call at 256-234-0007 for all your electrical service and repair needs, or visit us on the web at www.cntelectricllc.com and spell out the word "and."
Have you met your local farmer's insurance agent, Patrick Holina? He proudly serves Tallapoosa County and Alexander City families and businesses and is ready to review your existing policies or provide a no-obligation quote today. Call the Holina Agency at 256-234-0037 or stop in today at 704 Commerce Drive to get smarter about your insurance. Again, that's the Holina Agency, 256-234-0037.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
The food at Oscar's Cafe makes your mouth water. At Oscar's, enjoy great tasting catfish, or maybe you're just in the mood for one of Oscar's fresh salads. Even kids know the place for a fine meal is Oscar's with a great kids menu. Oscar's also has great tasting burgers full of backyard flavor. So come on out to Oscar's Cafe for great food and homegrown hospitality. We're located on Highway 49 South in Dadeville, just before the Blue Creek Bridge. And remember, it's all fun and games till there's only one cheese ball left.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
Let Riverbank and Trust open doors for you. Whether you're purchasing land, a lot by the lake, or building or buying a home, begin with Tallapoosa County's loan experts. They'll guide you through the entire process, providing local decision-making, prompt responses, and the best real estate loan solutions for your unique needs. And in most cases, Riverbank and Trust can close your loan in 30 days or less, and they'll walk by your side every step of the way. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. We invite you to experience it for yourself.
Lake Area Realty specializes in Lake Martin real estate. They can help simplify your next real estate purchase or sell and have helped many home buyers and sellers through the area buy and sell real estate with precision. Lake Area Realty utilizes powerful marketing tools and knowledge of the lake to help you with your next move. Call your local hometown agency today, Lake Area Realty, at 256-825-4800. That's 256-825-4800. Lake Area Realty, helping you find your way home.
Welcome back in one final segment here on the show. And again, college football and conference alignment has just been flipped on its head in the last really 6 months, but in the last couple of weeks, it's been some major changes. And the Pac-12 just sat there and watched their conference erode down to 4 teams, and Cal and Stanford trying to leave 2 and trying to come all the way to the ACC. It's just a grab fest right now. And you got to get to 12 votes in the ACC, and you know the ACC's kind of sitting there on life support as well, and with a couple of teams, Clemson and Florida State, namely, maybe even Miami wanting to leave. But they're kind of bound by this TV deal, and each team to get out, it's like a $120 million buyout for the university that a lot of these programs aren't willing to do. So they're kind of stuck. And you look at it from a standpoint of trying to add 2 more teams. Well, there's 4 teams in the ACC that don't want it. North Carolina, Florida State, Clemson, and NC State say, no, we don't want them here. We don't want them in the conference. So they're just kind of over a barrel right now. They're trying to keep their conference from dying like the Pac-12, but you got conference members that don't want those 2 teams coming into their conference. So the Pac-12 is stuck with 4 teams next year. I don't know how they survive. I mean, that's not a conference. And so if Stanford and Cal can't get in to the ACC, they're going to be looking at maybe the Big 12. Big 12 may reach out, but the Big 12 just goes out and grabs 4 Pac-12 teams. So they may say, look, we got who we wanted, and we don't need anybody. The Big 10, they're up to 18 teams already. They just added Oregon and Washington. I think the SEC is content where they are after they added Texas, Oklahoma. I think they would consider Clemson and Florida State.
But it fits in the
it does, but
geographic
but like what I saw this week, it's got to make sense financially at this point to bring 2 more universities in to have a split in the money. And Florida State and Clemson, crazy enough, don't bring enough to the table financially to warrant them coming into the conference to split the money up 2 more ways when all the money comes in. So this thing is kind of like, hey, we're in good shape right here. We're at 14. We're going to add 2 more. We'll be at 16. The Big Ten's at 18. I mean, yes, geographically it fits. Clemson, Florida State coming in, even Miami would be like, hey, us down here, don't leave us out. But, man, Pac-12, don't know what they're going to do. I don't think you'll find 5 teams anywhere or 6 teams that'll want to join the 4 there to get their conference back up to, a 10-team conference.
Well, I mean, smaller teams. Smaller schools that you would think would end up,
Boise.
A Boise, and that's exactly who I was thinking, and I don't know that they're going to have an option, though, because the travel concerns for sports
ridiculous.
Outside of football
it's ridiculous.
It's unrealistic is exactly what it is. I mean, can you imagine being a women's basketball team or just a basketball team in general that needs to play twice, 2 or 3 times a week early in the season in December, and then you move into conference play and you've got to travel all the way out to California and then come back down to Florida or somewhere and play? It doesn't. It
don't make any sense.
We've gotten to a point where now the question to me is, when does football separate themselves from the rest of
this? It's coming.
That's what the conference doesn't want to happen. The conference leads because they don't want that money and all of the organizational
structure. Well, then what
structure.
happens to Title IX, too? You're making, and again, it's a big issue. The reason you match sports and the reason you have is because you have compliance with federal law. Well, if football separates itself and it says, okay, y'all can still be in the SEC, these teams will be in the SEC, but basically you're going to take the names away from the conferences from football. You're just going to really create a division and you just put it in regions. I mean, but it's hard to put it in regions when Oregon and Washington are in California or on the West Coast and everybody else in their conference is over here on the East Coast. It's hard to call Cal and Stanford part of the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, when they're on the Pacific Coast. It don't make any sense anymore. And the SEC is about stretched its boundaries as far as it can go and still be called the SEC. Texas and Oklahoma technically aren't in the Southeast, right? So, but the names really don't mean anything anymore.
They don't.
The Big Ten is not the Big Ten, Randy. They got 18 teams.
I tend to agree with you, though, and I know we're closing up on the show, but Florida State and Clemson, they feel like SEC schools. If they end up in the SEC, I think that would be the last ones I would go get, but I would be just as happy to see them not.
I don't think they bring anything to the table. I mean, winning-wise, yeah. But, again, you're looking at dollars and cents at this point. It made sense to go get Texas and Oklahoma. It doesn't necessarily make any sense to get Clemson and Florida State at this point. When you're dividing money up, all you're doing is diminishing what everybody else gets at that point. So
I agree.
That's where it is. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Saturday Sports Countdown. Again, we appreciate everybody joining us each and every week. We'll be back with you next week for more Sports Blitz program and Auburn Blitz and everything in between. For Randy Lee, I'm Brett Pritchard saying we've enjoyed it. We'll help you out. See you next time.
Are you looking for something really good for lunch? Are you tired of the same old fast food? Well, go to Buck's. Get a meat and 2 sides or a meat and 3 sides for the best deal in town. Buck's always serves up the best food, including fried chicken, wings, hamburger steaks, catfish, shrimp, and yes, of course, the famous Buck cheeseburger basket. And Buck's has dinner specials too. So if it's your turn to cook dinner, Buck's will be glad to do it for you. We appreciate your business and look forward to serving you.
Have you met your local Farmers Insurance agent, Patrick Holina? He proudly serves Tallapoosa County and Alexander City families and businesses and is ready to review your existing policies or provide a no-obligation quote today. Call the Holina Agency at 256-234-0037 or stop in today at 704 Commerce Drive to get smarter about your insurance. Again, that's the Holina Agency, 256-234-0037.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of strength and trust in the entire Lake Martin community. With our modern branch in Dadeville and caring, attentive staff, we've established Farmers and Merchants Bank as a reliable friend to your banking needs. Whether it's just a savings or checking account or any commercial, auto, or real estate loan, Farmers has local decision-making to build a relationship with you and your needs. Farmers and Merchants Community Bank. Strength, service, community.